The tale begins in hushed whispers and shadowed corridors, in a place where history itself seems to breathe beneath stone walls. The Koh-i-Noor diamond, the Mountain of Light, is one of the most legendary jewels in the world. Its size, brilliance, and troubled history have made it a symbol of both power and curse. Wars were fought for it, blood was spilled for it, and kings who wore it often met untimely deaths. Over the centuries, stories spread that the stone was not merely a jewel, but an object bound with a curse so potent that no man who owned it could truly prosper. But this story is not about its ancient wars, or the handovers from ruler to ruler. This is about one night, strange, chilling, and unresolved, when the diamond seemingly vanished from its secured vault, and how the echoes of that night haunt those who dare to speak of it. It was London, winter of 1951. The city was damp with fog, the kind that curled into the alleys like creeping fingers. Inside the Tower of London, the jewel was displayed in a fortified chamber behind bulletproof glass, watched over by guards and by layers of steel security. No one expected anything unusual that night. The world's most infamous diamond was untouchable, or so they believed. At precisely 2:13 a.m., the night guard, Thomas Reeves, reported hearing something impossible. A sound not of footsteps nor of tools, but a faint high-pitched hum that seemed to vibrate through the stone walls themselves. He described it later as though the building was singing a note that no human ear was meant to hear. His flashlight beam caught nothing out of place, yet he swore that the glass around the diamond rippled as though touched by water. Minutes later, the alarms shrieked. The cameras, grainy black and white reels, recorded only static, as if blinded. By the time the emergency lights came on, the vault door was still locked, the glass unbroken, but the Koh-i-Noor was gone. Only an empty velvet pedestal remained, glowing faintly in the harsh light. Investigations launched instantly. Scotland Yard arrived within the hour, questioning guards, examining locks, scanning every inch of stone. But there was no breach, no forced entry, no broken cameras, just endless reels of white noise. The glass case had not been touched. Officially, they called it the most baffling theft in British history. Unofficially, the guards whispered that the curse of the diamond had finally claimed its prize. In the days that followed, strange testimonies emerged. One guard swore he saw a figure in the reflection of the glass moments before the alarms, cloaked, faceless, standing perfectly still. Another claimed the case had gone dark, as if the diamond swallowed the light itself before disappearing. Scientists tested the glass, the locks, even the velvet pedestal. Nothing explained it. Weeks passed, and the case turned cold. But something else began to stir. Rumors of the diamond reappearing thousands of miles away. In Punjab, a farmer swore he found a glimmering stone in his field, one so bright it hurt to look at. In Delhi, a jeweler claimed a customer brought in a diamond too large, too perfect for appraisal, only to vanish before leaving his name. None of these stones were proven to be the Koh-i-Noor, but the timing was uncanny. The press thrived on the mystery. Had the diamond truly been stolen, or had it simply returned home? Behind the closed doors of Scotland Yard, the file remained marked unsolved. But whispers told of something more chilling. The night after the disappearance, guard Thomas Reeves vanished. His uniform and flashlight were found neatly folded on his bunk. He left no note, no trace, only a smear of soot-like dust on the floor, darker than ash, that resisted cleaning. Some said he fled, fearing blame. Others said the diamond took him. His disappearance was never officially linked to the theft, but among those who patrolled the tower at night, his name was spoken like a curse. Years later, in 1978, a journalist named Evelyn Hart became obsessed with the story. She was young, sharp-minded, and fascinated by mysteries that blended history with the unexplainable. Evelyn pored over archives, read every police report, even bribed her way into restricted files. What she found chilled her. An unpublicized note written by Reeves the night before he vanished. The note read only, "The light hums tonight. It watches me when I walk past the chamber." Evelyn's investigation led her down dark paths. She tracked rumors in India, spoke with descendants of soldiers who once guarded the diamond, and even sought out priests who claimed the stone had been consecrated centuries ago. Again and again, she encountered the same idea. The diamond was not meant to be possessed. It chose where it belonged, and those who tried to cage it paid a price. Her obsession deepened. Friends claimed she began to change, her eyes sunken, her voice low and hoarse as if she carried the weight of the stories she uncovered. On the night of March 4th, 1980, Evelyn called her editor in a panicked whisper, saying she had proof that the Koh-i-Noor moves on its own. She promised to deliver evidence the next morning. She never arrived. Her apartment was found in disarray. The typewriter still clattered with a half-written sentence. "It hums at night just like Reeves said." The ribbon jammed mid-word. The only other item of note was a black velvet cloth draped over her desk, though her friends swore she never owned such a thing. The cloth carried no trace of fingerprints, no dust, no age. Just a faint scent of iron and roses. And so the story grows darker. Some believe Evelyn found the diamond, perhaps for only a moment, before it claimed her. Others believe she was silenced by those desperate to keep the truth buried, that the theft had never been solved because it was never meant to be. Still, there are witnesses who swear the diamond flickers into existence, then vanishes, as though it is less a jewel and more a ghost of one. One such witness, an old caretaker at the tower in the 1990s, described a terrifying night. He swore that while locking the jewel house, he saw a faint glow from the glass case, though it had long stood empty. Inside, for only seconds, he swore the Koh-i-Noor shimmered, pulsing like a heart before dissolving into mist. He left his post the next morning, never to return. His final words to his supervisor were simple: "It's not stolen, it's hunting." These fragments paint only part of the picture. For every tale of a cursed jewel, there is also the stubborn fact of history, paperwork, and evidence. Some claim the diamond remains locked safely away in a hidden vault, kept from the public to prevent hysteria. Others whisper it was never real to begin with, merely a story spun into existence by centuries of fear and greed. But there are those, scholars, mystics, and survivors of strange nights, who claim the truth is worse. The Koh-i-Noor is alive, think of it. A stone carved by the earth, born under pressure older than civilization itself, absorbing centuries of bloodshed, grief, and obsession. What if the diamond learned to feed on desire, to slip from hand to hand, weaving itself into human history like a spider pulling threads? What if the theft in 1951 was not a theft at all, but the diamond freeing itself from its cage? The evidence is scarce, the witnesses fractured, but the fear endures. And every few years, somewhere in the world, another whisper surfaces, of a jewel glowing where none should be, of a humming sound in the night, of lives unraveling after a fleeting glimpse of impossible brilliance. The Tower of London still refuses to release the original security footage of that night. Officially, the tapes degraded into static. Unofficially, rumors claim something can be seen in the frames, the shadow of a figure standing in the vault, though no one was there. When skeptics demand to view the footage, the answer is always the same: the reels were destroyed. But some insiders claim the truth. The reels still exist, locked in a private archive, too dangerous to release. And so the first part of this story ends not with answers, but with questions. A diamond cursed, stolen, or perhaps escaping. A guard vanished into soot. A journalist swallowed by her own obsession. A glowing jewel that refuses to rest. Even now, late at night when fog thickens over the Thames, and the tower walls groan with age, some say they hear it. The faint hum of light against stone. A song too high to bear, the prelude to something vanishing once again. The second part of the story begins years after Evelyn Hart's disappearance, when the Koh-i-Noor was already more legend than relic, more ghost than jewel. By the late 1980s, whispers of the cursed diamond had become urban myth. Ghost tours in London mentioned the vanishing guard. Indian newspapers occasionally hinted at sightings of a jewel too bright to belong to mortal hands. Yet, the official stance remained unchanged. The diamond was simply relocated for preservation, tucked away in a vault where the public could not see it. The truth, however, was murkier. In 1991, a confidential memo circulated within Scotland Yard, stamped for internal eyes only. The memo described an alarming incident at Heathrow Airport. Customs officers reported that an unregistered trunk had been intercepted, filled with old books, incense, and beneath them, an empty velvet pedestal identical to the one once used in the tower. The pedestal gave off a faint glow, like embers smoldering in the dark. The trunk had no sender, no origin tags, no fingerprints. Within 48 hours, the memo vanished from records, scrubbed clean as if it never existed. But one officer, Detective Alan Murdoch, couldn't forget it. Murdoch was not a man of superstition. Hardened by years of murder cases and organized crime, he prided himself on logic. But even he admitted later that something about the trunk unsettled him. It wasn't just the glow or the eerie silence it seemed to radiate. It was the smell. That same metallic rose scent Evelyn Hart had described before her disappearance. Against orders, Murdoch began his own investigation. He revisited the tower, bribed guards to speak, and hunted down old colleagues of Reeves. He uncovered a chilling detail. In the weeks before the theft, other guards had heard the same high-pitched hum but had been too afraid to report it. Some had nosebleeds that began only near the chamber. One claimed his watch stopped working every time he patrolled past the jewel. As Murdoch dug deeper, he began experiencing strange phenomena himself. It started small, his home clock ticking irregularly, his radio producing faint static whenever he walked by. Then came the dreams. In them, he stood in a vast dark hall with no ceiling, lit only by a single glowing diamond floating in the air. The diamond pulsed like a living heart, and when it pulsed, his chest tightened as if his lungs collapsed. He woke from each dream gasping for air, sweat pooling on his skin. Yet he couldn't stop. He was drawn to it. One night, convinced he was close to a breakthrough, Murdoch visited Evelyn Hart's abandoned apartment. It had been sealed for years, but he bribed the landlord to open it. Dust coated every surface, yet her typewriter still sat frozen with the half-written sentence. The velvet cloth remained folded on the desk. Against reason, he lifted it. The moment the fabric touched his hands, he heard it. The hum. Not faint, not distant, but inside his ears, vibrating through his skull. His nose bled instantly, staining the black cloth red. He dropped it and staggered back, but the sound followed him all the way home. That night, his dreams worsened. This time, he was not alone in the dark hall. A figure stood behind the diamond, cloaked, faceless, exactly as one of the tower guards had once described. It raised its hand as though offering the jewel, and Murdoch woke with his hand outstretched in his bed, fingers curled around nothing. Days later, Murdoch vanished. His car was found parked near the Thames, driver's side door open, keys still in the ignition. The only trace of him was a smear of soot on the seat, dark and resistant to cleaning. The parallels to Reeves and Evelyn were undeniable. 3 individuals, all consumed by the diamond, all gone without explanation. Scotland Yard sealed the file, but those who knew whispered that the curse was escalating, spreading beyond the tower. By the late 1990s, the Koh-i-Noor was no longer just a missing jewel. It had become something like an infection in folklore. Entire forums on the early internet were dedicated to sightings and theories. People from across the world claimed to have seen it, in dreams, in mirrors, even on the surface of rivers when the moonlight struck just right. And then came the most disturbing account. In 2001, a family traveling through Rajasthan reported a terrifying event. Their car broke down on a rural road at night. As the father tried to fix the engine, the mother swore she heard humming. At first, she thought it was the wind. Then, across the field, she saw it. A glow, too white to be fire, too steady to be lanterns. In the glow was a shape, a diamond suspended in the dark. Their daughter, only 8 years old, walked toward it before her parents could stop her. She stretched her hands forward as if in a trance. By the time they caught her, her eyes had rolled white, and her mouth whispered words in a language none of them knew. She collapsed into unconsciousness and did not wake for 3 days. When she finally stirred, the first words she spoke were chilling. "It doesn't want to be owned. It wants to own us." The family fled the country, refusing all interviews, but their story leaked into local papers. Scholars debated whether mass hysteria explained it. Yet those who studied the Diamond's history noticed a pattern. Every time the Koh-i-Noor changed hands violently, an entire generation seemed marked by unrest, famine, or bloodshed. Was the jewel simply a witness to human greed, or was it the cause? By 2005, the whispers reached beyond folklore. A secretive team within the British Museum allegedly began research into anomalous artifacts. They scoured records of cursed objects, relics tied to disasters, and the Koh-i-Noor was always at the center. One leaked document described it not as a diamond at all, but as a parasitic construct, something that fed on human attention, desire, and fear. What if it was not even of this earth? One professor, who later disappeared herself, theorized the Koh-i-Noor might not be a mineral but a vessel, a container, a prison, that its brilliance was not light reflecting, but something alive, straining to be free. She pointed to the humming sound. No mineral hums. No stone resonates like a living organism. Unless, of course, it is one. The theory was dismissed publicly, but behind closed doors, governments took it seriously. There are unconfirmed reports that in 2010, satellite imagery captured unexplained electromagnetic pulses across northern India. Pulses synchronized with nights when villagers reported glowing stones. Some say the British government knows exactly where the diamond is. Others say no vault can hold it anymore. And here is where the story turns darker still. In 2015, a retired tower guard named Henry Blackwell came forward. He was frail, dying, and no longer afraid of silence. He swore that the night before the diamond vanished, he saw something that haunted him for 60 years. He described walking past the chamber when the glass fogged from the inside, as though something was breathing against it. Then he saw fingerprints press against the glass, too large to be human, too many fingers to count. He fled and never spoke of it until his confession. He died 3 days after revealing it. The death certificate listed heart failure, but his daughter swore she found soot on his bedsheets, dark smears that resisted soap. By now, the curse of the Koh-i-Noor was no longer about riches or power. It was about survival. Every person who sought it too closely vanished. Every witness described impossible visions. The jewel did not simply curse kings, it consumed anyone who tried to uncover its truth. And yet, people kept searching. In 2018, footage leaked online. Blurry, handheld, recorded in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. The video showed a glass pedestal under a tarp. For a few seconds, the tarp lifted, and there it was. A diamond glowing unnaturally, pulsing like a heart. Before the video cut out, the camera shook violently, and a faint hum distorted the microphone. The uploader vanished within days. The video was scrubbed from the internet, though fragments survive in hidden forums. Now, the legend has evolved. Some believe the Koh-i-Noor is no longer a jewel but a living entity, moving where it pleases, feeding on obsession. Others whisper that it is waiting, growing stronger, until the moment it no longer needs to hide at all. And there are those who say it has already chosen its next target, that the humming begins in dreams, that the glow appears in reflections, that once you hear of it, truly hear of it, it begins to notice you. The final part of this story takes us closer to the present, where myth and reality blur. Disappearances, strange evidence, fearful whispers, all point to one conclusion. The Koh-i-Noor has not been lost. It has only been waiting. In 2020, while the world faced crisis, guards at the Tower of London reported static on their radios. Within the noise, a child's voice, "Give it back." Again and again. Technicians found nothing, yet guards kept hearing it. Soon came the smell, iron and roses in empty halls. Then cameras caught the impossible. The long, empty glass case flickered. For 3 frames, the Koh-i-Noor appeared, brilliant, floating above velvet. then gone. Officials labeled the footage corrupted, but those who saw it trembled. One muttered, "It's showing itself. We can't contain it." The reappearance spread among scholars and conspiracy theorists. Some thought it meant return. Others feared it was choosing. Enter Professor Amelia Trent, Oxford historian. She believed the jewel was not cursed, but filled with centuries of human trauma. In 2021, she received a package, black velvet cloth and a shard of glass. Vibrating faintly like a heartbeat, she began a diary. Day 1, night humming, felt uneasy. Day 3, roses in my office, no flowers. Day 5, dreamt of the diamond, couldn't breathe. Day 7, mirror flickered. No reflection, only the diamond. Day 10, students say I look pale, my voice feels wrong. Entries stopped after day 12. Amelia vanished, her office locked from inside, her diary smeared with soot. In 2022, a tourist fainted during a tower tour screaming, "It's here, it's watching me." Doctors said heat stroke, but cameras showed the case glow as she screamed. For a moment, the diamond was there. By now, the pattern was clear. The diamond was not stolen, it moved on its own, appearing when it wished, feeding on chaos. Some whispered it was no object, but a doorway. The hum, not a song, but a signal. Late 2023, workers swore they heard footsteps in the jewel chamber. The room was empty, except the pedestal. It was gone. Cameras showed static for 7 minutes. When the feed returned, only the case remained. Days later in Gujarat, a farmer claimed his barn glowed. Inside, a velvet pedestal identical to London's. He fled, never to return. Officials denied it, but travel warnings soon followed. Theories spread. If the diamond was alive, a parasite feeding on human desire, then it was not cursed. It was hunting. Every obsession made it stronger, wars, kings, scholars, each one feeding it. The 1951 theft was not the end, it was the start of freedom. And if so, what happens when it stops hiding? One scholar vanished after writing, "The diamond is not a stone, it is an eye, and it is opening." Now, in 2025, reports rise again. Travelers glimpse flashes in mirrors, puddles, windows. Not themselves, but a faceless figure with a glowing stone. Some wake with soot on their sheets. The tower quietly ended night tours. Officially, security updates. Unofficially, too many heard the hum. Rumor speaks of secret 2024 footage. Not the diamond appearing, but moving, sliding across its pedestal like a living thing. The screen cut to static, but the audio lasted 12 seconds more. A metallic voice spoke, "I am not yours." The file was sealed, but whispers spread. Those who hear them begin to dream. Those who dream begin to see the glow. So where is it now? Drifting between vaults and fields, mirrors and rivers. Or already here, watching, waiting for the moment it no longer hides. Some believe awareness itself is invitation, that once you imagine it pulsing like a heart, it notices you. And if that is true, then you, hearing this story, may already be chosen. Next time you hear static or smell roses, or see a flicker in the mirror, you will remember. And it may already be too late. The Koh-i-Noor does not vanish, it chooses, and now it knows your name.